Hey guys, my name is Barry. I'm a independent sound engineer, and I also work as the house sound tech at a bar restaurant venue. So I've seen a lot of bands come through our door, and I'd like to pass on a few tips to you, which will hopefully help you have a better show and increase the chances that the venue will have you back. So, to start off with, I'm working for the venue. I'm the house guy. So I'm not working for you, the band. However, I understand that we have to work together in order to put on a great show, and I'm here to help you do exactly that. So if there's anything that you need, anything I can do for you, any adjustments I can do, I'm happy to do it. Because I know that we have to work together to put on a great show, and I want us to have a great show because when you have a good show, so do I. And so I try to have a really positive, happy, low stress, low drama relationships with my bands. And I want all of us to work well together. So if there's anything you need, just let me know. I'll do what I can for you. So a few things that I would suggest that you keep in mind to keep the venue happy with the band. And most of it is pretty much just common sense. One of them is that after you get your equipment up on stage and get set up, I know you need to take a second to tune, but after you're done tuning up, please be quiet. Don't sit there and noodle around in your instruments and make a bunch of noise before the show, or make a bunch of extraneous noises during the band break times, because that's distracting to the bar staff, and it's also a little bit irritating for the audience, and it isn't really the mark of a professional in my mind. So please be quiet on stage unless it's showtime, and then, put on your show. One of the biggest problems that sound guys have with bands is bands are often too loud on stage. Please keep in mind that, from my perspective, the purpose of your instrument amplifiers on stage is to give you the ability to monitor what you're playing and to give me a solid sound source that I can put into our PA system. So please let the PA system do the heavy lifting and send the sound out to the audience, and just consider your amplifiers on stage to be monitoring. So just turn them up enough so that you can clearly hear yourself, but not a whole lot more than that, because when the amplifiers on stage are really loud, that makes it difficult for your sound guy to properly mix the band. You start competing with the house PA system. And worse yet, you might push the level of the band up high enough that the sound guy has no choice but to not put your instrument through the PA system, which in most cases doesn't sound quite as good that way. And then he has to lift up the rest of the band around the loudest instruments, and things can get kind of out of control that way. And the last thing that I want to do is to have the bar manager or the bartender or some of the venue staff come up to me and ask me to ask you to turn it down. That's never a good night. So please keep your levels on stage as mellow as you reasonably can so that the house engineer has a good chance of being able to properly mix your band. And if I come up there and I'm saying, guys, you really got to back off on this, can you turn down a little bit? It's not because I enjoy bossing anybody around. I'm just trying to give you a great show, and or I'm taking direction from the bar owner who's telling me to, back down the thrusters a little bit. So please don't give the sound guy attitude when he does that. It's not a role I enjoy. And if I'm asking you to turn down, it's because I really just can't work with the levels that are happening. And I've had some bands come back to me and say stuff like, hey man, a good sound guy can handle a loud stage. Yeah, I can handle it, but the venue owner can't, you see. So please respect our timeline. So start your show on time, end your show on time. Don't go way beyond the ending time of your show, because that can impact the schedule for cleaning up for the evening for the venue, and that'll really irritate the staff. And also try to get there early enough so that we don't have a stressful setup. If it's my preference, I'd like to see the band on stage with all their equipment on there about an hour before the show. That gives us plenty of time to get everything hooked up and work out any little issues that might arise. I can do it faster than that, but if we have enough time, then it's a very relaxed, mellow evening, and it's a good night for us all. And so make sure to bring everything that you're going to need for the show. Don't expect me to be able to provide extra batteries or tools or extra extension cords or gaff tape. All of that stuff you should be well prepared with. And arrive early enough that you can have a nice mellow setup and give the house engineer enough time to put mics and everything and do a quick sound check to make sure that everything's working before the show. I don't like being really rushed before the show. That's just way too much stress, so give us enough time to get everything done. Remember, the reason you're there is not to necessarily showcase your amazing musical talent, although that's always a good thing if you have it, but it's really to sell bar product. So when you're on stage, make sure to have a good time, get the audience engaged, and encourage the audience to tip the staff and to buy product from the venue. Because one of the greatest things that you'll be judged by is how the till at the end of the night is. So if you make a lot of money for the venue, that'll be a major factor in whether or not the venue wants to have you back. When you close your show, I think it's really polite to do a quick shout out to the venue. Give thanks to those who made it all possible. So I would encourage you to close out your show with something along the lines of, "Hey everybody, it was really great playing for all of you tonight. We had a great time, and I just want to do a shout out and say thanks to Frank's Bar for having us on this Friday night. Thanks to Emily and Michael, your bartenders, who certainly hooked us up all night. They're fabulous people. And finally, thanks to Barry for sitting back there at the soundboard and doing what he does to make the show come together for all of us. So, hope all of you had a great night. We certainly did. Have a safe ride home, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks again." Something like that. Just do a quick shout out to the venue, to the staff, and let everybody know that you appreciate the fact that they took a chance on you, hired you, had you out at their venue. It's just polite. Please leave a clean stage. If you come over to my house, I would consider it disrespectful if you just threw your gum wrappers on my floor and walked away. So same thing with our stage, same thing with our venue. If at the end of the night there's a bunch of empty glassware or beer bottles or set lists or dead batteries, just please scoop up all your glassware and bring it over to the bar so that they can get it cleaned up. If there's trash on the stage like, dead batteries and set lists and other things that you've discarded, please just pick it up and throw it in the trash so that when you leave, the stage is nice and clean like it was when you came. That way the venue staff doesn't have to pick up after you. That goes a long ways towards having the venue think that you're good guys. When your show is complete, after you're done, please promptly pack up all of your instruments. Pick up your cables, put your instruments in their cases, move it all off the stage, clean off the stage promptly. And after you've gotten all of your instruments off of the stage, then go out and socialize with your friends or do whatever you want to do. Please don't leave a bunch of stuff up on the stage and hang around the venue and until closing time and then pick it up later, because the venue staff is needing to go up there and do their tidying up, and they can't do anything until you move your equipment out of the way. So the sooner that you get your equipment off the stage, the more rapidly the venue staff can start doing what they need to do to finish up for the evening. Now, in the case of my venue, it isn't important to me that you get your equipment out of the venue and out to your trailer or your cars, but just please move it off of the stage. So you can move it all off the stage and maybe set it all alongside the cargo doors, but at least clear the stage so that the rest of us can get to the business that we need to close up for the evening. And then finally, you may or may not want to tip the sound guy. Now, as the sound guy, as the sound engineer, I don't expect a tip, and I often don't get one, but I do pretty regularly as well. And like I say, I certainly don't expect it, but it's always pleasant and surprising when it happens. And if you were going to tip your sound engineer, I would suggest that you consider doing it during the beginning of the evening, because at that point, it still has some impact on what its behavior is. If you throw the guy a 20, maybe just buy him a drink, he might be a little bit more inclined to pay close attention to your show. And then at the end of the show, or the day after, there's a very good chance that that sound engineer is going to be having a talk with the bar manager, the bar owner, or maybe he's the decision maker. Whoever is the decision maker for whether or not your band returns to the venue again. And that will be determined by how much money you made for the venue. Was it a profitable evening? Did you bring in a lot of people, and did those people purchase venue product? And what was your attitude and demeanor like? And so if you tip the sound guy well, there's a good chance that the sound guy will say, those were some really nice folks. I enjoyed working with them. And he's probably more likely to overlook any little episodes that might occur during the evening or anything that caused him a little bit of irritation. And you have to consider what your benefit of getting rebooked is. How much does your band make? Maybe you're making $500 a night, $800, $1,000, maybe more. And so for the cost of a drink, for the cost of $20, you might make another $1,000 if you get rebooked. And that decision may have something to do with whether or not the sound engineer thought that you were really enjoyable to work with. So I'm not suggesting you go around bribing people, but I'm saying that it might be a good business decision, might be a small amount spent for another show that's gained. Just a thought. But like I say, I certainly don't expect bands to tip me. I always appreciate it when it happens, but it's certainly not expected. At any rate, so I hope that some of those tips were useful to you. Just some common sense tips for being polite, getting along with folks, and keeping in mind the reason you're there is not because they're interested in showcasing your amazing musical talent. The venue's looking for acts which are engaging and fun and encourage the patrons to buy venue product. I've seen bands who are really amazing, outstanding musicians who would grump, saying, I don't know why they didn't book us again. They're booking this other band, and they're nowhere near as good as we are, which is true. But if the amazing band are a bunch of guys who basically stare at their boots all night and play complicated music and don't engage the audience, that's not going to be as compelling for the venue as hiring another band, which is perhaps not as great of musicians, but they're fun, the audience gets out and dances, and the audience buys more product. So keep in mind the real reason you're there. It's not because you're amazing musicians, it's because you can make the party happen, or you can draw in a good crowd. And of course, you do have to have a certain level of competent musicianship because, at least in my area, there's a lot of really great, talented musicians. So there's some pretty stiff competition. So you have to be reasonably good. But it's more about how well you connect with your audience and how well you can encourage those folks to buy product. Well, anyway, hope that was interesting. Hope that the tips are useful to you. And so keep those things in mind, and you will have fantastic shows and many repeat performances. And hope to see you at my venue soon. Take care, folks. Bye.